Hi folks, John Dunn here, RPG freelancer, publisher behind Meliorvia. I'm up here at Immortals Inc. tonight with Mikey.
What is going on, John? And feels good to be here.
It's always good to be here, Mikey.
You got bad allergies?
I have allergies, yeah.
I'm suffering.
Yeah, it's not a good time, but it's part of the miracle of life. There you go. So I thought, speaking of the miracle of life, nice segue there.
Oh, yeah,
we
nice.
talk about root, because root is, bottom part of a tree, but it is also an RPG about woodland adventures. So we've got our cute anthropomorphic animals, people that are dwelling in forest regions. What could be more miracle of life than that, right?
That's life itself.
And I want to start off by just mentioning this is based on a board game. It's published by Magpie Games. The guys behind the writing are Brendan Conway, Mark Diaz-Truman, and Sarah Doom. And really, this book deserves a lot of credit for the artistic work on it. That's Kyle Farron, and I think he did all of the artwork on it. Root is kind of the Animal Crossings RPG, if you want to combine Animal Crossings with fantasy adventure.
Yeah, say less. I mean, I myself have never gone in Animal Crossing. Have you?
I haven't played it much, but my wife and my daughter were both really into it for a while, and I had a lot of other friends who were playing it too.
My wonderful grandmother, she is obsessed. From
All right.
What I hear. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna stay away.
It's not my kind of game, but to those who enjoy it, more power to you. And to those who enjoy it, I think this might be the kind of adventure game that might be a good fit for you.
Yeah, tell me more.
So the characters that you're going to play are anthropomorphic vagabonds. They're small animals that dwell in the forest, and they're part of communities in the forest. There's a bunch of factions that are active in the woodland. You've got the Marquisat, who are a group of cats that basically are kind of the tyrants over everything. And then in opposition to the Marquisat, you have the Erie dynasties, which are anthropomorphic birds. I'm going to toss around a lot of anthropomorphic things here, which may make this sound like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to some of you. It's not. It's really quite different from that.
Aww.
And then there's the Woodland Alliance, which is the other faction that's active, and that is rebels against both the cats and the birds, and that's kind of a cross-species alliance here. In terms of rules system, this game relies pretty heavily on Powered by the Apocalypse. So you're going to use playbooks and you're going to take actions in ways that are very similar to that. If you're familiar with those styles of games, this system is going to be pretty intuitive for you. If you're not, this does seem like a pretty solid point for jumping into that system. It's really pretty accessible. One of the things that they talk about repeatedly here is not to go into things with an agenda. As you play the game, you're going to find out where the story goes. The setting that's set up here is really more of an outline. Fiction is intended to overrule anything else. So as you develop that story, you want to make sure that the game reflects the story that's just kind of naturally evolving. And that fiction is really heavily fable-based. So it's going to draw on a lot of traditional fable imagery that you're familiar with already. Probably Aesop's Fables. That rings some bells for you, Mikey?
No, explain maybe.
So Aesop's Fables are classic stories where you've got animals depicting kind of human archetypes and wants. And so you've got stories about, like the frog and the scorpion crossing the stream, where the scorpion wants to get to the other side and the frog promises to help, and the scorpion stabs him halfway across. Or
nice little poison.
Exactly,
you're dead,
because
you're frozen in the
he had to
road.
be true to his essence.
Yeah.
Things like that. Those are kind of archetypical examples, and really the setting and the characters are intended to draw on those.
Then yes, I know exactly what you mean.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Character creation is playbook based. Like I said, it's part of that whole Powered by the Apocalypse style. There are 9 options presented here. There are some source materials that have already come out for Root, and some of those do introduce other playbooks as well. Each of these are 4 pages within the book. They print out as a double-sided sheet that you can fold into half, so you got your 4-page little playbook going right there. It's a whole lot faster than something that you would just generate free-formed. It's also a whole lot faster than most class-based systems, especially if you compare it to something like D&D 5th edition. choices that you make are designed to be complementary, and there aren't a ton of them. Generally speaking, you're going to pick an animal. It's going to be something that's smaller than a wolf, probably a land animal, even though I did say that birds were one of the big factions. And even creating your character is going to be story-driven, so creating your character's background as you're going through making your playbook choices is going to work out to be more important than any of the specific rules that are detailed in that section. With your playbook, your characters are going to have 5 stats that are all really pretty straightforward, and then you're going to pick a nature, a drive, a connection, and a reputation. And finally, once everybody's got their playbooks built, then your group as a whole are going to sketch out your band's daring exploit. This is the big adventure that you guys undertook together in the past that drew all of you together as a group. When you start play, your characters already know each other, which is handy.
Ooh.
Because then you're not getting into this situation where everybody's confused about what everybody else can do. No, you've worked together in the past.
Chemistry 1,000.
Absolutely. In terms of dice system, it's just 2d6 roll high. Again, powered by the apocalypse. It's not really about a success or a failure. It's a question of how things go and how your choices drive the narrative. You're not going to make a roll every time you try to do something. You're going to make a roll when the outcome of your action can have a big effect on driving that story forward. There is an equipment section. It's story driven. So when you pick up a piece of equipment, it's not so much what it can do for your character as a tool, but more about how that piece of gear can drive the story forward and what directions that piece of gear. So, if you have a weapon as a piece of gear, then it makes it much more likely that your character is going to have a combat encounter. If you have a toolkit as a piece of equipment, then it's much more likely that your character is going to need to fix something, right? What you have dictates where the story is going to go.
So basically, Root is just a foreshadowage of everything.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely following Chekhov's law, right? If
we're not stuck in the past in Root. That's the essence of life.
There you go. There is a GM chapter after equipment, and it's more about storytelling advice and style advice and how to remain true to the ideas that Root's presenting in terms of these animal communities building things. Than it is about trying to dictate rules. It's not really trying to set up campaign secrets either. It's trying to give you advice on how to make those stories come forward. After that, there's a whole section on Woodland Creation, and this could be something that the GM does, or this could be a collaborative effort where you lay out what different clearings there are in the woodland and what factions inhabit them. You can do this randomly, you can do this collaboratively, but that organization and those locations, again, are going to serve to drive your narrative. What sort of stories you're going to tell, what sort of factions are going to have agendas and how they're going to interact with each other. If, they're in 2 neighboring spots on the map, they're much more likely to interact, possibly be in competition, or maybe have a, functional working relationship. And that's going to decide how other groups interact with them as well, and how the characters are going to interact with them. Finally, there is a sample woodland at the back of the book, just either to give you an example of how you might want to develop that, or alternatively, give you a real quick jumping off point so that you can get your group adventuring without needing to take the time to design one of your own. This is a full color book. Like I said, it's pretty lavishly illustrated and a lot of very cute pieces of animal artwork.
It is lavish.
Yeah, and again, all by that same artist in a very kind of distinctive style here that matches up with what you see on the cover. And it is published by Magpie Games. It's 256 pages, and it is $40. We've got some copies up here on the shelf at Immortals Inc., or available at immortalsinc.com. And there's a few support products for it as well, some cards and some other materials as well. If you think this might be something that's up your alley, stop in and take a look.
Immortalsinc.com, baby. You know what it is.
Till next time, good gaming, folks.
Peace.